All right, welcome back to another episode of Cameo Podcast. I'm back at Camless Innovation Center. They actually put my guest and I in a blue room. It looks like they're doing some renovations. I met BCLC, who's now here. And this episode is brought to you by, well, no one. I didn't bother securing a sponsor, so if you'd like to support the podcast, email me at cameocreative@gmail.com and we'll figure something out. But my guest today, we've been trying to meet for a few weeks now and kind of dropped off the map for a little while in between those weeks. He was introduced to me by Krishna of ROI MediaWorks. He is a John C Maxwell trained leadership professional. I had no idea what that meant. I actually thought that was his name the first time Krishna introduced me because I was running around like a madman. And it sounds like Jeff runs around like a madman too. So Jeff, who is not John C Maxwell, who the universe kind of prompted me to reach back out to him because a fake John C Maxwell Twitter account followed me on Twitter. Jeff, go ahead and introduce yourself and where will Kamloops know you?
Yeah, my name's Jeff Torrans. I run Jet Leadership here in Kamloops. I basically speak, coach, and train individuals when it comes to leadership in their business and in their personal lives. Some people are going to know me from LeaderCast that I've hosted the last 3 years with the Chamber of Commerce. We've been doing training with the Chamber of Commerce and just individual one-on-one group trainings around town for the last 5 or 6 years now. It's been great.
Perfect. Yeah. And so for those who missed LeaderCast, I think it was, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was May the 4th.
May the 4th. And so it's like an online but also in-person summit of just leaders that you're bringing in, sharing their experiences. What sort of leaders did you bring on in for LeaderCast this year?
Yeah, LeaderCast, it's a video training is what it is. So it is simulcast from Atlanta. So they've had guys like Rudy Giuliani. They had the ex-coach of the New York Yankees this year, Andy Stanley. Everybody loves him. So they've got a couple of big names. And then we run things with individuals in between as well. And it's just a great time to get together. It's about 150 to 250 people at TRU. Yeah, you're watching a video, but it's truly great teaching with some real gold nuggets about how to lead yourself well.
Absolutely. And you know, I appreciate you taking the time to join me on this podcast because it legitimizes it in a way. And I told you that earlier. You know, a lot of the people that I speak with are younger. They're upper-coming young hustlers here in Kamloops.
Sure.
What are some traits that you kind of see the Kamloops young entrepreneurship community kind of have in common?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing that I'm seeing, even up at TRU where I do a lot of work with students and people that are just starting out, is they are basically fearless. So they will try anything and try and measure it up against results. If they're not getting the results that they want, they'll try something different. And it's really exciting to see. I love that kind of process. It refines what they're trying to do. It gets them on the right track faster than if they just, were sitting around thinking about what to do and hoping that was a good idea. They're testing all of their ideas. And if they fail, they're not overly concerned about that because they know that they're working towards the right course of action to take. So yeah, fearlessness is probably the number one thing I see in young people and in young entrepreneurs today. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, and I told you I quit my job yesterday, so I'm staring down that fear right now. Trying to overcome it and figure out a plan. But it like I said on a previous episode when I was at Kick, they wrote failure on the wall here for a reason, and how important it is to become a leader is to fail. Can you expand on what it's like to fail, or do you have any examples of where you've seen someone fail and then kind of rise from the ashes?
Yeah, I think there's examples of that everywhere. So for me, probably the easiest thing is to tell you a story about how I became a paid public speaker, which was not something that I ever had in the cards when I was younger. So, imagine being in high school, having to do poetry recitation, had to do 100 lines, got through the first 2, and then started to die up in front of the entire class, and basically had to be prompted for the next 98 lines of poetry. And so that was my, introduction. That was my experience with public speaking. And I thought to myself, never, ever again. That was absolute, crazy failure. Never wanted to experience that again. To right now, getting paid to speak on a regular basis in front of crowds, in front of people about leadership and stuff like that. So how do you go from one to the other? You've got to work your way through that fear. There's a thing called exposure therapy, where when you're exposed again and again and again, usually the fear dies off as you go. So it's kind of like, somebody's afraid of snakes. You put them in a room with a box full of snakes. And eventually you can put the box beside them, and eventually they can put their hand on top of the box. And, it works for some, but not all the time, but it works a lot. So public speaking was a lot of that kind of therapy for me. I just got up and did it, whether there was one person in the room or 10 people in the room. Now I've spoken in front of, groups of 800 kind of a thing. So, yeah, that's the personal route that I've gone.
Yeah, Yasir, a previous guest on my podcast, is a Toastmaster. Are you involved in Toastmasters as well?
I have been. I got my start there, and I know Yasir. He's a great guy.
Yeah, awesome dude. And so he introduced me to Richard Abankwa, who I recorded yesterday.
Right.
And he brought his co-founder of Diversity, Brian, along. And those two guys have, the traits that you're talking about, just staring it down and being fearless and going after it. And I think that's kind of beautiful what TRU is creating is people, international students who are coming on in, and that's terrifying to begin with, to go to another country, but then they're starting up something really, really great.
Yeah, they're amazing. These students that are coming from other countries when they're 18 years old, don't know anything about Canada, don't know anything about Kamloops, don't know anything about TRU. They're putting their foot in the water and they're going for it.
Yeah.
So it's great. I always think of it as, at the Canada Games pool, they have a huge diving board there. It's a 5-meter cement diving board. And when you are faced with something that you've never done before, it's like having your toes hang out over the edge of the diving board, right? And you've got two options at that point. You can jump, which is why you're there in the first place, which is what you want to do. You want to accomplish the thrill of the splash. Mm-hmm. Or you can go back down, because you can't stay there, because the pool is going to close eventually and somebody's going to have to pull you down. So when that kind of fear hits you and you got your toes hanging over the edge, you got those two choices. You either go forward or you get back, walk down the stairs and walk along the ground like nothing ever happened. And so the people that jump and do what they want to do are much more successful in their endeavors and much more successful entrepreneurs. And yeah, maybe it's not the thrill that they thought it was, but they're going to try it again and they're going to go there.
Totally.
The rest of us tend to go back to the comfort zone and walk around like we never could make the jump in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I'm probably at the point where I felt like I jumped off the diving board, but I just didn't make the splash that I told my friends I was going to make, or that I was going to make. And so it's then getting back to the diving board, going to the top and being like, okay, am I going to cannonball this time? How am I going to do it differently?
Exactly.
And so it's definitely challenging. Now, Jeff, what are some things that you're doing out in the community of Kamloops beyond LeaderCast? Where are they going to see your face?
Yeah, actually, me and Yasser are going to put something together next week. We want people to come out and attend our speaking gig. It's totally free. We want them to tell us what they like about public speaking, what doesn't work for them, things that they wish they knew about public speaking. So that's at TRU on Wednesday and Friday at noon. There are going to be more sessions every week as we go. But we want people to go there and be a part of this and say, hey, I like public speaking. I know I got to do public speaking to get better grades. That's where most students are at. Most business people are like, hey, I signed up for this as a sales position. Didn't know that I have to go and speak so much in front of other people. That happens all the time. So public speaking is a absolute vital skill that everybody basically on the planet needs to get better at. So we're running a couple of sessions. We're going to give you some real tips, some tricks. We're going to make you look like a professional within about 30 minutes. Then we're going to ask you, hey, what do you wish you knew about public speaking? What do you wish you could overcome? What sort of things do you need us to teach you that can help you improve faster, quicker, better? And then we're going to put a program together and see what that goes in the fall.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's so funny that you're working with Yes here. And we're back at Campus Innovation Center, because what happened was, after I met with Yes here, I had a meeting here and I went to Big Don's Autopon just because I had 15 minutes to burn. I found a microphone, the exact one I'm talking through right now. I'm like, I bought this and I gave it to Yes here. I'm like, go record me something. I'll see you in a week's time. So I'm really excited to see what he puts together and what we can kind of share. We're getting to the 10-minute mark. Jeff, what are a couple things that you want to share that, if people are to remember one thing about you, about this podcast, what do they want?
Yeah, my big thing is about self-leadership. You've got to be able to lead yourself well. All right. So John Maxwell, who is the guy that I trained under, talks about the law of process and the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. The law of process is you got to continually work on yourself every single day. So the best example of the law of process is exercise. Every single day is what really counts. So if I go to the gym and I sign up for a month and I go and work out hard for 30 days, is there some benefit in that? Of course there is. It's better to exercise than to sit at home and do nothing. But it's not the 30 days that counts. It's the next 30 days that counts. It's the next 30 days that counts. It's the next 30 days that counts. The benefits of exercise are really how long you've been doing it on a consistent basis. The most successful people in town, in Kamloops here, are people who are consistently doing successful actions again and again and again. They don't take a day, well, they take a day off, you know what I mean? But you know what? They're doing the right things at the right time, and they've been doing it now for 25 years. And you're like, well, how did you get from here to there? And they're like, I just did this. And it seems really simplistic. But the real idea behind that is, I just did these things, but I did them every single day.
Well, it's like the if you look at the triathlon community in Kamloops, right?
Absolutely.
You look at the names in the triathlon community, they are people who are established in town. And to do a triathlon, you have to break it down and work on it every single day. You're not seeing some Joe Blow too often, completing an Ironman.
That's right.
It's someone who's committed and has broken it down. And as someone who's winged a couple ultra marathons myself, I'd like to get to the point where I could be a little bit more focused like they are and have that determination. Jeff, to build on that though even further, what's another? I just want to have you speaking. You're a professional speaker. I don't want to have you stop at this point.
Yeah, there you go. I would say the secret of your success is found in your daily agenda, or maybe on your telephone or on your cell phone. What you've got planned every day is what you're going to do. So every single day is your life in miniature. So at the end of your life is going to be lived up of a bunch of individual days. However long it lasts doesn't matter. It's what you did on those individual days, and what did you schedule on in those individual days. All right. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have every second of every single day of every moment of your life scheduled. All right. But what you can do to help yourself out is schedule in what I call scheduling your meaning. So what is meaningful to your life? Schedule those things in first. So if a podcast and reaching out to people, making new friends, and having a voice for the city of Kamloops is meaningful to you, that's got to be in your agenda, and it's got to be in there every single day. You got to work the process. You got to plan for it and make it happen every single day. So if it's meaningful to you, that should be planned. If your family time is meaningful to you, that should be planned in your agenda somehow, some way. If you put it at the end of the day and saying 4 till 7 is strictly family time and nothing else, whether the phone rings or anything like that, plan it, put it in there. If it's meaningful, plan it. Because what happens with your time is it's going to get used up, and it's going to get planned out whether you like it or not, and whether you do it or not. So somebody else is going to take your time. Somebody else is going to fill your day. Somebody else is going to make your weeks go by quickly. We all live that through that experience. So if you don't take control of that and plan in things that are meaningful to you and plan your meaning, then somebody else will do it for you. And you'll get to the end of your life and think, you know what, I didn't exactly get where I wanted to go or do the things that I wanted to do. Or more importantly, have the kinds of relationships that I really wanted to have as we went along. So plan those things. Put those things in your agenda. Give yourself permission to plan a coffee with a friend. Plan all this kind of stuff. Whatever is meaningful to you, whatever gives you your sense of purpose, that's got to be in your agenda, and you've got to work through that every single day. Probably the second thing another thing that I could tell you about is the idea of KANI, constant and never-ending improvement. If you are not scheduling in a chance to improve yourself, I don't care if it's 15 minutes of reading a book or 15 minutes of exercise or whatever it is that you need to do that is meaningful to you and is going to improve yourself. Hey, I want to do better podcasts, so I need to figure out how to be more technically advanced, get better equipment, find a better room, or prepare better, whatever it is that you can do to take your podcast to the next level. That stuff better be in your agenda. Why? Because you'll be here 2 months from now doing the same sort of thing that you've done at the same level.
Totally.
People who hit the next level, they plan for it, and they work through the law of process. Leadership doesn't happen in a day. Leadership happens.
I think you just called me out on a couple of things there, Jeff.
I'm sorry.
But I totally agree. I started seeing real impactful changes when I started writing my to-do list the night before, going to bed and kind of not thinking about it, but knowing it's already planned, so I can wake up and like, there it is. My wife's realized I like lists, though. I would never have told you that 2 years ago. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for meeting with me, and I'm sorry that I ghosted on you for a little while, and I truly appreciate you responding when I reached back out. Where can people find you online if they have any questions?
Yeah, if you just put Jeff Torrans at Google, I come up there. I've got a website. I got a Facebook page. It's all good.
It's Jeff, Torrans, for those who want to know and check it out. And make sure you check out what he's doing with Yassir. Where can you find more information on that?
We are going to be blitzing today and for the rest of the week up until Wednesday, mostly at TRU, but we'll be putting stuff on events and Kamloops and those kind of Facebook pages as well.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you once again for meeting with me, Jeff. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another episode of Cameo. I'm looking forward to chatting with my next guest on, it will be Tuesday. I'll be chatting with Clara Ship of Clara Ship Fitness. And then on Wednesday, I will be chatting with Dr. Ian Mitchell, you're going to hear him a lot in the news pretty soon with the upcoming cannabis legalization. So looking forward to both of those episodes. And thank you, Jeff, for meeting with me once again.